A lot of people here are struggling with Undecember and wondering why do I keep dying. I have 2000 health or whatever and it still feels bad, so what do I need to do to not keep dying all the time? So first of all, as you can see, info is displayed based on level. So what does this mean? In Undecember, levels have actually a big impact on tankiness. So a lot of people have been leveling normally through the campaign and then they are doing Act 8 and you can see it's actually a level 56 zone, but most people reach that by level 49 or level 50, so they are fairly under leveled. That makes it way harder to keep up with all of the stats and you will actually have not as good scaling stats here if you are under leveled. So what I recommend is you go to lower acts and level up. I have a video on how you can level in Act 7 for example, but you can basically just go one act lower and do that. Then the next thing that we need to figure out is what stats do actually help us with getting tankier. So let's look at that. We can come to the character sheet here and to defense, and up here we can tell the health our character has, barrier, and down here we can see armor values, we can see the resists, we can see any dampening effects on damage taken, and we can see dodge rate. So these are all of our defenses. If you are running a shield, you can also have block, but most builds don't run that, so we are actually not gonna look at block so much. So resists here, what do they do? If you have the correct amount of resists, that will be 75%. That can depend on the zone though, as we already said. It depends on the level. So in a level 1 zone, this here might be 75% with 111. So you need enough resists to have 75% for your level here, for the zones that you're running. That will make you insanely tanky compared to before. You don't actually need to have all of these resists while leveling. Each act has their own resistance types that the game suggests. You will still find some other mobs, like some of the rare mobs that do other types of damage, but 80% of the mobs and all of the bosses do this type of damage or physical damage. That brings us to armor. Armor is the best out of the three defenses. It gives physical damage reduction, which is big. The other two are dodge rate. Dodge rate basically makes some of the attacks miss us, but with 8% or 10% or even 20%, 4 out of 5 arrows still kill me, so that doesn't really help me much. I will still die a lot. So you need to bring that up to like 70% for that to feel good. Otherwise, I don't recommend you investing a lot into dodge. You should invest into armor instead. So only play dodge if you cannot use armor because you don't have the strength, or if you cannot, if you can stack the dodge up to 70% or more. Other than that, armor will be better. And to barrier is basically another health pool. It is the same as health, the only difference is it refills really fast. If you don't take any damage for a few seconds, then it refills on its own really fast, and health potions don't work on it, so that's the difference. And the bad thing about it is it doesn't reduce any damage taken. So if you don't have resist and you don't have armor, then you take crazy amounts. So let's say we have 0 armor but 1000 barrier. That would mean one shot, let's say it does 100 damage. I can tank 10 shots, but if I have 70% armor here, and then I can tank a lot more shots with the health pool I have, because it actually reduces all of the damage. So each shot only does 30 damage. Here each shot still does 100 damage, and once the barrier is gone, I only have my little amount of health here left. Like, my character is really high on health, but a lot of barrier builds don't have so much health and then you die really fast. So I was going into barrier a lot and it was horrible, so I switched into more armor, and I'm still too low on that. I need to get more, so that will help a lot. Chaos resist, you can mostly neglect that. That's more important in late game, and rarely, for example, the Act 10 final boss, you need that, but it doesn't occur so often, so you focus on the elemental resistance instead. Okay, and the dampen effects, they are basically also reducing all of the damage taken, so these are all good. You can find them on gear or on talents, so these are nice to have, yeah. So, how do I get armor to become tanky? We can actually look at that. Even as a mage, I can, even as like a fireball mage, I can run full armor plate if I have enough strength. So what does that mean? I am a mage, so why should I have strength? I'm not a warrior. Let's look at the talent tree though. I am actually not skilling everything into int. I am also skilling a lot into strength. So why is that? Strength here gives us health and it gives us armor. As we already figured out, barrier sucks. Mana, don't really need that. We have mana potions, so doesn't matter. So intelligence is basically a absolutely horrible stat. You never want this. The only reason why you want this is so you can meet the requirements for your skill. That's the only reason why you want it. Nothing else is needed from int. Int is horrible. Dexterity, hit rate, nah, but sadly it's so low it doesn't really matter. Dodge rate, we already found out dodge is kinda bad, so unless you're fully investing into dodge, then it can be good, but don't really want that either. So in int and in dex you only put as many stats as you need for running your gear or running your skills. And everything else buffs our armor and buffs our health, and since we already invest into strength, we can also use the armor bases, which are nice. You can see here, requirement 221 int, and on my character we can see the maximum int that I'm using is 221. So if I get a new item that has stats on it, 3 stats or 10 dex, then I press set, come here, and I reset my stats. Here, reset stats and min-max it so that I only have 221 of that and the required dex for using my armor here. And yeah, like there's some bases, for example the damage against elites base, that is really nice, so I want some dexterity to be able to use that. Or for the boulders here with projectile damage, so I want some intelligence to use that, for example. Even as a bow build might be wanting that. Or here the helmet also needs a split base. So for these split bases I am using some dexterity, but I might be fully getting away from that soon and running different gloves with cast speed or something. So that's the plan here. Everything into strength, everything into armor, everything into resists. And after armor and resists, the next important thing is health. And then after health, you can get barrier, but a lot of barrier you only find instead of strength, so you don't want that. You want more instead of armor, so you don't really want it. You want the armor instead. So that's how you get tankier and that's how you survive more. Another trick here is to put your potion on a higher percentage. So if you start taking damage, you already start regenerating life faster. You will need or use up more potions on average, but potions are cheap, you can just buy them from the vendor, so it doesn't really matter. These healing potions on the other hand, they are a little bit more rare, so the instant healing ones, so you need to think about if you want to use them or not. So yeah, that's how you get your chart to be more tanky. There's also a few more mechanics that are more like depending on the build that you're playing or depending on different talents and so on, so I'm not going into that, but a general guide on how to get tanky on any build is armor, resistances, health. So I hope you guys liked the video or learned something from it. I sometimes stream on YouTube here, so feel free to drop by if you have any more questions about it. If you enjoyed this video, you can find even more content on my channel.